back, everyone. I'm here today with Simon. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you very much.
Amazing. So we're here today to talk about the amazing, Go Beyond Challenges, which is, your race company. And you've recently just got back from Nepal, where you've done your inaugural country to capital event, which from the pictures looked absolutely stunning. But before we kind of get right into that, can you tell me a bit about you and how you became a race director and where the influence for that came from?
Okay, so there's a story with everything, isn't there? So, been doing this for 7 years. So, 7.5 years ago, I was sat on the bed reading a book, and a friend of mine who runs an accountancy business, she phoned up to say that she had a client who was selling a event management business. Would I be interested? And I was thinking to myself, well, it's a kind of now or never thing, really. So yeah, that's how I took the plunge. But I'd been running ultras since 2012, and a lot more stuff before that. So kind of like it was a bit of a kind of dream to do your job and hobby at the same time.
I know it is such a cool job, I think, coming from this side of the fence. I see people kind of amalgamating their love for sport and, other people's love for sport as well. But obviously there's a lot of challenges that come along with that. Have you found, in the past 7 years or so, you've come across quite a few challenges, especially, straight over COVID as well?
Yeah, I mean, as I say, we could have chosen perhaps 7 easier years to do the job. But no, I mean, I think you're right for a start. Is the fact that it's an incredible job, and it's not without its dramas and its problems and things like that. But pretty much every day, I'm excited to come to work. I meet the most incredible people, and that sort of far outweighs any dramas that come along. I mean, the big issues for us, I think, and the same for quite a lot of event organisers, are issues around venues. They seem to become, dare I say, greedy, and think because they see a lot of people at your event that they're welcome to a big slice of the pie. And some of them are big corporations and stuff like that can be quite awful to deal with, and kind of sadly unsympathetic to what we do and the benefits of what we do. So I think, yeah, I guess the big issue for us at the moment and going forward is rising costs.
Mm.
As a business, we're kind of sort of almost obsessed with the fact of trying to keep things to be a reasonable price. And I get into a lot of trouble over that. But for me, I kind of thinking, well, look, guys, this is your money. I, it can't be cheap because it's not a cheap thing to do, but it needs to be good value. And I hope that some way, we're getting that right for people, and trying to do our bit really just to keep things affordable.
Mm. So tell me a bit about Go Beyond Challenges and some of your races that you hold throughout the year.
Okay, so one of our big sort of strategies is to try and make our stuff as accessible as possible. So whereas when we took over all those years ago, there were some quite individual events. So some of these have been developed. So to give you an idea, Shires and Spires, when I took over, was a 35-mile ultra marathon. This coming year is going to be a 5 distance race. So we have 10K, which is probably the toughest 10K you'll ever do in your life. Oh my God. Half marathon, 3/4 marathon. Because
Nice.
one of my pet hates is the kind of system of running we have in the UK, where you're expected to keep doubling
Mm.
your distance to the next kind of prescribed distance. So 3/4 marathon is something that's quite popular. I think if you look in Southern Ireland, a place I've have loads of them, but not in the UK. So we've added 3/4 marathon, then we have marathon, and we have ultra marathon. So we run about 10 events a year. We do one triathlon event, which is a triathlon relays. So it's quite specialized in terms of not a kind of everyday thing, because triathlon is incredibly expensive to do. We have a few shorter runs and stuff, and then we have our 4 core ultras. So country's capital, which is coming up on the 6th of January, and we have lots and lots of really exciting runners for that. And the great news about that is there's people coming from all over the world, which I think, given how hard things have been as an industry, this for me is a little bit of a glimmer of hope that if we can attract. We always had lots of international competitors, and of course they're all died away. So now they're back. So I'm hoping that's a good sign. We have Rose of the Shires, which is an epic tour of Northampton. So basically 54-mile loop around. This coming year, we're adding a marathon. So basically, to keep life simple and logistics simple, we're just going to hire a bus, and people who want to do the marathon, we're going to drop them off 26.2 miles from the finish and let them run back. But the thing is with it, it's such an incredible course. And the funny thing about Northamptonshire is a lot of people have never been. And when they come, they go, whoa, why have I never been? Because it is called the second garden of England. So it's quite a dramatic place in terms of scenery and all the rest of it. So yeah, so that's that. And then, like I mentioned, Shires and Spires. Then we finish the year off with Thames Trail. And we've had some challenges with that actually, but that's kind of out of our control with loads and loads of closures on the route in terms of weirs and bridges and all sorts of stuff, which adds to the fun. And of course, you mentioned that November saw us in Nepal for our first ever capital to country ultra marathon. So
amazing. So I did not know 3/4 marathons ever existed, and I've been running for about 5 or 6 years now. So you've enveloped in a whole new world for me there. Do you think that those sort, you've implemented all of these smaller distances? Do you hope that people maybe want to kind of begin that climb and it gives them something to aim for rather than just saying, it's such a lofty goal that people are never able to get?
yeah, I mean, this is the key thing behind it, is that when you're stood on the start line and you can look around, you can see 10K runners, 3/4 marathon runners, ultra marathon runners, and they're kind of all the same people. They're just running, some just a bit further than others, kind of thing. So that's the idea, that you can start to step up then through the gears as you as you go to up the distances.
Amazing. So I want to hear all about Nepal. I've seen the pictures and it looked absolutely phenomenal. So where did the idea come from? What was the route like? And just tell me all about, the event that you've got now out there in Nepal.
So basically, we talked a bit about doing an international event. I've done some of the toughest races on earth personally. So I kind of understand what comes with a multi-day ultra marathon, and particularly in different countries, and the excitement and the kind of thrill of it. So I wanted to kind of use the things I'd learned from lots of different events to try and then bring them into one and say, look, actually, could I create my own thing, ticking off probably all the good bits? So it actually had, my wife was the one actually that suggested it, which is great because she normally moans when I suggest things. So I kind of thought, well, look, if she's got her name on it, then we're happy. So last year we went out there and we met this guy who was the Nepalese contact for the people that organised the trekking, which they'd done for the last 10 years. And we got really well with them and with him. And we said, look, actually, would you like to work with us? And he's very much kind of like, so a guy called Binay Lama, he's very much kind of a fixer, as you get in these countries, that nothing's a problem, that he can sort it. So he was a great guy. So we met him, we had little meetings with him while we were there, and then decided actually, I told him what we wanted to do. And we created an incredible route. So basically, the route starts in a place called Sanku, which is a ancient part of Kathmandu, and you run through the Sanku Gate. So a gate in Nepal is kind of like what we would describe as like a massive archway. This thing is painted turquoise and gold and all sorts of incredible colors. And then you're basically running almost 100 miles through the foothills to reach his village, where you stay overnight. And then basically the next day you're running a marathon up to some decent height around the village and come back for the finish. But the the thing about it is that we're taking you to places that no one goes.
Mm.
So if you talk to somebody, if you go, "Oh, I'm going to Nepal," well, what are you going to do? Annapurna, Everest Base Camp. There's kind of like, it's like if you say to England, "I'm going to England," or you're going to see, the London Eye or something. It's kind of, there's way more to this place. So actually, when you're running along, you're seeing people that don't see Western faces. And worse than that for them, so A, they're confused. Why are the Western people actually coming through my village? And probably the bigger question they have is, why the hell are they running with backpacks on? It makes like no sense to them whatsoever. But they are beautiful people, and the place, it's really hard to describe actually, because I think you just don't get the dramatic landscape kind of anywhere else that I've been. And I kind of think that's a difficult thing, because you talk about, oh, is it hilly or whatever? But what I don't know anything that we have that I could sort of give you a comparable to. I
Mm.
mean, literally, we're riding along in a Toyota Land Cruiser, and off the edge of probably a foot from the edge, and then there's 1,000 foot drop.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, it's take your life in your hands being part of it. But it was so different as well, because basically it's a self-sufficient race. However, the Nepalese people are horrified at the thought of people coming to their country and not being looked after. So we did compromise with Benet and said, look, actually, so instead of static checkpoints, what we would do in the UK, we had lots of motorbikes in the team, and
Right.
they would ride the route. So on the back of one of them was Adrian, our photographer, and you've seen his incredible work, and that was a brilliant move to take in with us, because to have professional photographs, and that's part of your package with the event as well, is when you finish, we sent everybody a memory stick loaded with about 1,000 pictures of before the event and the 5 days of the event, and a little bit of post-event stuff as well. And so the guys are right up and down, and they're checking all the competitors, and they're dishing out water and stuff. But then also he wanted to dish out bananas. And when they got to the campsites, so we wild camped for 3 nights. When we got to the campsites, he wanted to provide tea and coffee, sometimes biscuits. One camp they had a bottle of rum. And when we got to his village, he got chips out. So it was a kind of self-sufficient Nepalese style. But like I said to the guys, this is not, and I think it's one of the dangers of ultra running. It almost becomes a personal opportunity to suffer.
Mm.
And actually, it doesn't need to be like that. It should be an opportunity to challenge yourself, of course, but it's not to kind of beat yourself up. It's about listening to your body, and kind of working with what you've got. So it was kind of like a little twist really on self-sufficiency. But we wild camped for 3 nights. That was amazing. So camp 3 was probably the most amazing one, where we camped on a beach by the side of Glacial River.
Wow.
So the beach of grey sand brought down from the mountains, and a really wide, freezing cold glacial river, which the
Wow.
guys love just dipping your legs into. You have to be a bit careful, because it's a bit wild. But you imagine waking up in the night and looking out your tent, and you're on a beach,
Yeah.
and you are in the middle of nowhere. So it's just amazing. One thing we took with us as well, we took a Starlink with us. I don't know whether you're familiar with that, but basically like a satellite dish setup,
Yeah.
and plugged into the generator, and there we have Wi-Fi in the middle of nowhere, which was nice as well, because as much as we are trying to escape, obviously, the day-to-day stuff, we wanted to publish race report every night. So we'd have a little meeting with Adrian and go through the photos, and write up a little race report. So we need to get that out and stuff like that. So yeah, and for the guys as well, we had a couple of ladies on there, which are both are mums. So I want to check in with their kids and stuff, which is
Yeah.
important, of course.
Yeah.
So
Amazing. The whole thing looked absolutely phenomenal. And I can just imagine, looking up and being surrounded by, one of the, the highest mountains in the world. And, it's almost otherworldly, isn't it? It's so far removed from running in the UK.
Yeah, and I think the views that you get, they go on for literally probably hundreds of miles, and the valleys are so steep and so deep that sometimes they'll contain clouds that looks like rivers and stuff like that. And
Wow.
like you say, the snow caps in the distance sometimes look like they're floating because you see them through the top of the cloud. You have a bank of middle cloud, and then you have the valley below, and it is just an incredible place. And I think the other thing that sort of came out of the event, because you kind of set out when you put these things together what you want to achieve. But one thing that we hadn't really thought about was the whole kind of spiritual aspect.
Hmm.
So there were lots of people on there who had had lots of kind of life issues and stuff like that. I mean, one of the guys won't mind me mentioning because he's a published author, but he's a recovering alcoholic. And it was a really interesting dynamic in so much as the feedback at the end was like a lot of people said, well, I found myself there. So kind of like I don't know, I hadn't really thought of the race um, as much as self exploration. I know that that's people say to me, well, why do you do this stuff? And I say because you discover yourself when things get properly tough.
Mm.
But this was kind of a little bit deeper than that, and it wasn't something we'd expected, but it was just incredible.
Amazing. So, what were some of your favorite moments? I loved looking at the pictures of all the monkeys. I think that they looked absolutely cracking. But I particularly loved there was a part where it looked like somebody was blessing you, and there were children everywhere who were running alongside you and with the runners. And I just think that brings a whole side of humanity that you maybe don't get with Western events.
Yeah, I think the people were amazing, and I think now you've looked at the photos, and luckily I was like able to send you them all. So I apologise for taking out many hours of your time,
I
but
loved it.
but some of the stuff that Adrian did was really good because I think the danger of covering an event, particularly that's lasts for 5 days, it gets a bit dull. Is a picture of me running here, is a picture of me running there. So we tried to combine the scenery, we tried to combine the architecture, and more importantly, really the people. And they're such beautiful people. And you see the kids, and they have this like amazing smile. And you see the women dressed in all these brilliant colors and the kind of leathery faces of the guys and stuff. So all of that stuff was great. And I think that the kindness of the people, because they don't have much, and when you're eking out a living in the foothills, there's not a lot going on for sure. If you want to go to somewhere big enough to do your shopping and stuff, you're probably out for the whole day just
Yeah.
to get there and back, kind of thing. So actually, yeah, there was one point where the guys came out of the village and they look quite stern as people, but actually they're not. It's just their expression, and they give you a tilka in the middle of your where your third eye is and stuff, and they threw petals over you, and then best of all, they gave you some oranges, and oh my god, you've never tasted fruit like it because the journey from what do they say, field to fork was literally about 10 feet.
Wow.
So he came off the trees. So
Yeah.
yeah, for us, I mean the monkeys were hilarious, and actually they one of them stole an apple from me. One of them stole. We bought the guys some drinks because it was a warm day. We went to the monkey temple, and the guys stole the monkey stole a guy's Sprite, and then they stole a banana off another person. So they're great. They're really funny, and they're so quick. Basically they just give you a nudge from behind when you're not looking, and you're thinking, oh, and then by the time you've realised that they've had whatever you had at your hand, kind of thing. But no, I mean, I think for us, I mean, the highlights really you know, were basically the views and stuff. Really, I think it's just that wasn't something you sort of got tired of. Really, it was just incredible.
So have you chose to have such a small group mainly for um yeah, for what reasons have you chosen to only have 20 runners? Better you explain it.
Yeah. So what we talked about this, and we kind of looked while we were there, because we went with 7 this year, which we wanted to get the event off the ground. And I think once you've got the photos and the real people, able to talk about it and all the rest of it. But we kind of looked at it and thought, do you know what? How many races are there that you can be really looked after? I mean, truly. Um, you've got the epics out there. I mean, you've got Marathon des Sables. I did that back in 2015. I think there was like 1,200 of us.
Mm.
And don't get me wrong, they do a great job because they look after you obviously by country and all the rest of it. But it's kind of this machine, this huge sort of entity that sort of rolls through a country. And what we wanted to do, we wanted to make sure that we never had more people than we could actually take proper care of.
Mm.
And also, I think the important thing is, and this is the issue, I think, when you do a lot of races, is that you go to places, but you're not enjoying the place itself.
Mm.
You're kind of just running the stages through the thing, then it's time to go home. So kind of we thought, well, actually, if we keep it small, we can take care of people. They can have the opportunity then of actually enjoying Nepal, because this is, and like I said to you before about the self-sufficient thing, it's quirky, and it's quirky because that is how it is in that country. We're not trying to dress this thing up and make it into something it's not.
Mm.
It's just kind of how it is.
Mm.
So that was really the thing with the numbers. We thought, well, actually, if we had a maximum of 20 people, take care of them, get them to enjoy the country and all the rest of it, and have an experience where everybody can know each other and share their stories and stuff. So that's and also I think going forward, as we build up in terms of our reputation for the event and all the rest of it, then I kind of want it almost to be like a really exciting exclusive thing that actually you think in 5 years would have less than 100 people having taken part.
Mm.
So just to say, look, actually I was there, I did it. People go, oh my God, how did you and we're hoping to, I guess it's almost like, I suppose, buying a Ferrari, if you like, but without the Ferrari price tag, I might add. But it's that thing, isn't it, where you place your order and they say, well, we're ready in 2 years.
Yeah.
So, but one thing again that we've been keen to do is to keep the price, affordable, and that's really important, and to have the option of paying installments and stuff like that.
Wonderful. So, what were some of the challenges you found as a race director in an international race, especially? Because obviously there's lots of different angles that maybe you don't have to think about over here. The language barrier is definitely one that comes to mind.
Yeah, I think the hardest thing for me, and I'm not a control freak, although people might say that I am, but it was actually giving up or giving over the opportunity to someone else about being in control.
Mm.
So we didn't have an option to pre-recce the route because it just hadn't worked for us. I think in terms of our time scale with everything we do in the UK. And I trusted the guy implicitly. There was no question of that. But actually, to give that over, it was hard. Yeah, I mean, the language barrier is funny because sometimes I'm trying to explain what I want, and I get something that's like totally different. And actually, I remember at the start thinking, "Are we getting going in a minute?" Because I have no idea that Monk was doing his blessing and being able to talk to somebody else, and somebody else was chasing the dog away, and I'm thinking like, what is actually going to happen here? But I guess they were the core things really. Also, we've now been able to like finesse the routes. So the ones that we've got online now are 100% accurate, because there were some. I mean, it's a hard place to draw routes electronically because there's not a lot sometimes to kind of work off of. But yeah, they were the kind of core things. I mean, we wanted the competitors to be self-sufficient because we wanted to make sure that there was an opportunity for them to get sick.
Mm.
because obviously, particularly when you're wild camping and stuff like that, it's very hard to maintain a level of hygiene. Saying that, we the guys cooked us the most incredible curry every night out of an old, basically canvas scout tent, one gas bottle and a burner ring and two saucepans. So,
Wow.
yeah, but so I think, and it was also really establishing a routine. So we would get to the camp, and they were a bit slow setting up the first camp, and then by the second camp they've got the idea.
Yeah.
Laying out, welcoming each runner in, checking on each runner and all the rest of it. We got trackers on them as well, so we could see. And then, making sure they had hot water to wash themselves and hot water for their food. And of course, the tea and coffee, which was snuck in there. And then I would meet with Benet and talk about the day, talk about things that we needed to attend to. And then we would talk about the next day. We would agree a start time with the guys and stuff. And really, so it was we sort of found our groove really with it. But it is different, say, because it's all about this continual planning and stuff like that. And also, I suppose one of the challenges is going to bed for 12 hours a night.
Yeah.
When it's dark, there's nothing else to do.
Yeah. So what are some of the things you're looking for as we go into the 2024 season? What sort of things are you excited for the new year?
Well, I think I'm just generally excited, to be honest with you. But I think it's really the hope, and we say this every year within the industry, like it's going to be better. But I think it will be. I think I've got a new marketing guy working with me, Craig, who's you've seen obviously the report he wrote, and it is way way better than anything I could ever write. So I'm excited about working with him. We're pushing our Grand Slam again for this year, and I think we had our first official kind of, well, it's the second. Well, this year will be the third year that we do it. For 2023, we awarded a shield. Sadly, one of my ultra running friends took his own life, and we wanted to kind of remember him with a memorial shield and stuff. So that's quite a nice kind of thing to sort of keep in our hearts. So the Grand Slam is a big thing. Say that I'm excited about the 3/4 marathon, the Rosebud Marathon, bringing that in. And it's continuing now to sort of to build our presence, build our brand, and I think we've got a really got a really good portfolio of events. Obviously, excited about going back to Nepal, and the opportunity really to do that all over again. So yeah, there's lots of good stuff, and we're attracting a lot of runners. We've got the second, so we do a half marathon in Northampton, the amazing Northampton Run. This year was our first ever full-on closed roads half marathon, not without its challenges, shall we say? And so we're doing that again next year. So I'm excited to work hard and grow that kind of thing. But yeah, so we're keeping following our philosophy is run for a reason. That's the question we always ask ourselves. Why? And I think that's the key thing that we're kind of like now trying to sort of hone our offering, if you like, and all the stuff that we write about to make sure that people understand why. So
it sounds amazing. Where can people find you? Where do people need to head to find out more about the amazing races you have got on for next year?
So if they head to gobeyondchallenge.com, you'll also find us on Facebook, of course, and Instagram. But go to the website. Everything's on there. And but one of the core things as well that I will say is that I'm always accessible. And actually, people send me emails and they go, "I've got a few questions," so I ring them up. And they're like, "Who are you?" I said, "Well, you've got some questions. Let's have a chat."
Yeah.
And so for me, that's kind of where we are. And I have said this. I said I never want to get so big that people don't know who I am. And for me, that's a kind of really important thing. So it's about still having fun. That's the point. If we're not enjoying ourselves, then what the heck are we doing it for? And part of that, say, is for me is meeting people, talking to people, you know, and working with you guys. You know, it's you know, you're great ambassadors for the sport and stuff like that, and yeah, that's kind of really important to us that we, you know, we're seeing the right places.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much for coming on and speaking with me.
No
I've
worries.
really enjoyed getting to know you and getting to know all about your races. And, you know, I'll definitely try and pop down to some, I think, in 2024 and see what's happening.
That'd be great. You'd be more than welcome.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Emily. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.